Gotten to FAU special teams has been a big deal to me, basically playing a part on the team, just embracing my role in that kind of light, and knowing that the only way to play on travel games is to get on the bus. You can't play from sitting at home. So I think that's been a big deal to me, and especially having Coach Lunsford last year, for the past 2 years, somebody who recruited me out of high school, just made me really passionate about playing special teams and wanted to basically make him proud in a sense.
Mm-hmm. And you've taken that next step, getting on the field for regular snaps now. Can you talk about the transition from January to now and the extended playing time for you?
Yeah, so ever since, ever since I came to FAU, it was a very senior heavy room. So in January, when all the seniors left, I felt like I had to step into a role and embrace a leadership kind of position, and trying to fill the shoes of the people who left before me. You have people like Jackson Ambush, Desmond Tisdale, and Eddie. And those people kind of taught me how to be a leader. And not everybody's a leader in the same kind of way. Mm-hmm. Jackson was more like a vocal leader, somebody you could look up to. Des was somebody you could just come to and talk to. And Eddie was that person that like always looked over you. He didn't have to say much, but you knew that you wanted to perform well for him.
What kind of leader are you?
I feel like I'm somebody that embraces an aspect of all three of those guys. Whenever the time comes, I want to be the person that the younger guys can look up to. If we're in a time of hardship, I want to be somebody that can lead the team in a vocal aspect, and somebody who's just lighthearted in a sense where not everything has to be so serious all the time, just like Des taught me. So I think a combination of all three of those people and those characteristics have helped me become a leader in who I am today.
Questions? What's the transition been like from Coach Lunsford, someone you mentioned you were very familiar with, now to Coach Schwantz? Has there been any difficulty? And in today's world, it's easy just to quit when it gets tough, go hop in the portal, but you didn't, you stayed here, and how's that been?
So, funny story, Coach Lunsford, who was at Georgia Southern when he recruited me out of high school, I committed to his staff. Unfortunately, his staff got let go, and Coach Helton's staff came in, and my very first position coach was Coach Schwantz. So it's been pretty seamless in that aspect of just seeing a familiar face. I remember receiving that call from him when he got the job. He was like, "You ready to get back to work?" And I was like, "Of course." So,
Zyere, what's your favorite part about playing linebacker?
My favorite part about playing linebacker would to being the central part of the defense. Somebody that if the front needs adjusting, they can look back to us. If the back end needs to know what kind of communication we're going to play in coverage, I think having all those pathways of communication flow through the linebacker room is crucial, and that's probably my favorite part. And also getting to hit somebody. I mean, why wouldn't you want to hit somebody? You play football.
And how has it been? It's a very different group now. How have you been getting along with some of the guys in your linebacker room?
It's a very different group, but I think we're all kind of same in the sense. We all feel like there's only one way to success, and that's banding together. And there's no, the strongest part of somebody is being a fist. You can't be a hand with everybody going 5 separate ways, 9 separate ways. Everybody has to come together. And I think we've all embraced that kind of role.
On the defensive side of the ball, what's kind of been that? You've been here a couple of years, and we've heard it from some people, trying to wipe the past few years out in new culture. What's that been like, trying to, just reset everything and get back to, winning in paradise?
Yeah, there's no bigger reset than a completely new coaching staff coming in. So everybody has a clean slate. Nobody cares what you did before, whether it was good, bad. You just have to prove yourself now. What can you do for the staff now? And I think that's the biggest part of being successful. Everybody has to prove why they should be here. So just the clean slate for everybody.
And has there been anything specific you've been trying to do to whether it's improve your game or just anything on the field out there that you've been doing specifically?
I think a big thing, going back to the leadership aspect of it, was embracing my role as a leader. Nobody's gonna look up to the guy that's not coming to meetings on time, or they're not staying after practice to get extra work. You gotta be somebody that is gonna perform in a way that people can look up to. So I think that's helped take my game to another level. It's just being somebody who's reliable and somebody that people can actually look to.
Because I have Tyler, Zyere, so they've been in college for like 3-4 years. I don't know, they old. So they teach me like everything, every aspect, like whether the playbook, my footwork, just little stuff. On the field, off the field, classes, all that.
They may be older than you, but one of the things that you can teach them are days like today. You know, this is like an August day that was out there. And Coach spoke at the end about mentally being prepared for whether it's hot, cold, or whatever.
Yeah.
You guys have enjoyed a good spring. How do you get through a day like today?
It's hot. So I'm from Miami, so it's really like, you can't get used to this. I'm just being honest, you can't get used to it. So there's like no advice I could really give them. Just hydrate the day before, take care of your body. That's it, really. You can't get used to this.
We heard from Zyere kind of the impact of Dez, Eddie, and Jackson. That's like a big three of veterans right there. What were they able to kind of impart on you?
Like he said, like Jackson more vocal, Dez you just talk to anytime. Eddie, you want to show out in front of Eddie. You feel me? Because Eddie he been in college about 7 to 8, 9 years. You know, just the little stuff.
So, you know, I feel like Drew mentioned it, being that linebacker kind of want to be feared a little bit. Do you feel like if you have that edge on your shoulder, you'll be able to make an impact this year?
Yes, 100%. Like I want to be like feared, like they know like 17, he coming.
Today was a little challenging, admittingly. I think coming in the springs helped a lot to be able to acclimate from January all the way until fall camp when it'll really be super hot. So Today was a little bit of a test, a mental test, and it's something I need to grow on as an individual and kind of be that leader and role model and not kind of let external things affect me. It is challenging coming from the Midwest. Obviously, like he just said, he's from Miami and he struggles in the heat, so it's kind of a factor that shouldn't affect your play, but it's something we need to embrace, like living down here, and kind of use it to something like our advantage when we play teams that are from the north and not used to this heat, and it's something that we're just used to, especially with the tempo offense and how fast-paced it is. It should be nothing when we play other teams.
Did that play into your consideration? We talk a lot about paradise, but we forget the fact that it's hot.
Yes, ma'am.
Did that play into your decision at all in coming down here?
Definitely something I considered. Admittingly, going from Minnesota where it is very cold and dark a lot of the year, I really was excited to be able to get out and come down here. Anytime we got a break in Minnesota, I was always down in Florida. I've been to Boca a couple of times and really enjoyed the area. So it was something that kind of factored into my decision, but in a positive way. It was something I wanted to be around. I feel like I move better in the heat. I feel like I can breathe better. I don't know how to explain it, but if you've ever been up in the cold and had to play a game in -10, you understand what I'm talking about. So it's just kind of that. It did factor in, not a huge factor, but something that I saw as a positive.
How, I guess you knew coming in that you were going to be one of the veterans in the room.
Yes, ma'am.
How has that played into your spring? And I'm sure you've embraced that role.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's kind of a little bit of a challenge, At Minnesota, I was a backup, kind of similar to Zyere too. Big special teams guy, would come in once in a while just to give the ones a break. Started a couple games, so I understood the role of like what you had to do as a leader, but it definitely is something that's a lot more challenging to fill those kinds of shoes, especially at a new school. Just trying to connect with the guys, like every single guy individually. It's something I had to work through at first. You can't just come in guns blazing like, oh, I played in the Big Ten, you got to earn the respect. And I think Caden Veltkamp, our quarterback, kind of broke it down to me in a good way. Like, it's not so much about collective as a whole. Like, you need to go get one-on-one with all these guys and build a relationship with them, and that's kind of how you'll form trust. And I kind of embraced that, and I think, progressively I've been able to gain all these guys' trust, and they rely on me as the mic. I got the green dot, got to get the call. Especially our offense is boom, boom, boom. So I got to, have these guys and be like, hey, I'll get it to you. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that we're all on the same page and we're ready to roll.
All right, we're used to that. The guy with the green dot was the defensive coordinators. unit director. So now you're working with the linebackers coach, but the defensive coordinator works with the defensive backs mostly. Is that hard to build that communication when you're not talking to them each day?
I mean, I always talk to Dewhurst every single day, so I wouldn't say not really, because it is a little bit of a barrier, admittingly, maybe, just because he's not in your room, he's not interacting with you every day. I used the green dot last year for a couple games that I played in, and it was our linebacker coach was our DC, so it is something, you know, different. But I also think it also adds a value and like a layer of, you know, maybe when you don't see eye to eye, it's not so bad because he's not your position coach, you know, like it's easier to just let things go and move on to the next play, and all right, you know, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to fix, boom. Like I've had instances with Dewhurst and I'm just like, hey, you know, can you just say it a little clearer in the headset? You know, I'm just, you know, I'm missing it. Boom, calm and collected, always perfect. And I think it's almost better, you know, it's like kind of like parents, you know, sometimes you don't want to listen to your dad, but you listen to your uncle. It's kind of, that's how I kind of view it, and I think we have great chemistry and it works amazing.
You talked about facing Coach Kitley during practice. One thing I was wondering is, has he kind of, you know, opened his bag a little bit as a play caller, where you're like, whoa, I have to go here, I have to go here, but you have to stay disciplined? Has he kind of made it challenging on you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they run a very unique offense, very explosive, and it's good. And I think the good part about going against that every day is it does challenge you mentally. It's like a big chess game, especially at Mike. You know, you got to be getting everyone lined up, and when they give you unique formations, you got to be able to adapt to it. And you know, some days we get them, some days they get us, and I think it's just kind of, we show them new looks, they show us new looks, and I think we're just like both progressively heading north. So,
speaking on leadership, we saw had Char'quez down. How do you kind of balance that between, you know, being that stern leader on the field, but also making sure to keep it light a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. As you guys will probably get to know me a little bit more, I'm a goofy individual. You guys probably won't fully see it, but I like to be myself. You know, I'm wearing a crop top. Most people don't do that nowadays. Like, it's just, that's who I am. I like to be goofy. I like to be myself, but I'm also very like serious and focused. And I just I want them to understand that there is a unique balance that you have to find, and it's hard to be able to find that, but you just have to know the person individually. Like I know Quez, we've built a relationship. You know, he is a very funny guy. He's a character, I'm a character, and you just kind of have to feel where your puzzle fits within that person and understand that they can be themselves, but then there's also like collective goal that we are all striving for. So how can you individually be yourself and bring whatever you bring to the table and apply that to our puzzle to make it the most beautiful puzzle?
I know probably every linebacker that plays football thinks they're equally good at all aspects of the game. But if I put on your tape from Minnesota, would I be most impressed by the fact that you're a run stuffer first?
Yeah, I would say, admittingly, in the Big Ten, it is a little bit easier. Running backs down here are a lot faster and smaller, so it's something I've had to adjust to. Because in the Big Ten, it's more try and run you over. Here, it's a lot more, all right, you got to go get him, you got to tackle him and get him on the ground. So it's kind of something I've had to adjust my game to, but I think my biggest attribute would probably be effort. That's something I've always prided myself in. You can control your effort, and it's just something that I think has always set me apart. I feel like if you asked any coach I ever played for, you know, they'll tell you I'm goofy, they'll tell you I'm a character. You know, I'm not afraid to run my mouth, but I'll always give you effort every day. And I think that was kind of my biggest attribute. And I've just kind of been working on sharpening all the other tools in my toolbox and just going with that at the forefront.